It has been 5 days since the attack, and there has still not been a single federal official briefing on what happened. Not one. Which means everyone is piecing it together through interviews and reporting and the copious amounts of footage recorded that day. Now, I have to warn you, this next video is disturbing. It's another example of just how vicious and violent the mob was. Watch closely here at that arched doorway where the rioters drag out an officer defending the Capitol. They bend down and pull him down the stairs, and they start beating him. Keep an eye on the left side of your screen for the bearded man in a gray jacket. He stands above the officer, wielding the American flag, and he beats him with it, repeatedly bringing it down on him. Beating an officer with an American flag. Because there have been no official briefings about what happened on Wednesday, we don't know who that officer is, or what condition he or she is now in, or just how many incidents like this one captured here on camera there were amidst the mayhem and the violence in the sprawling Capitol complex. We do know that the rioters came prepared for action, for this kind of action. A Capitol police officer who fought off the mob last week told BuzzFeed, quote, "That was a heavily trained group of militia terrorists that attacked us. They had radios. We found them. They had two-way communicators and earpieces. They had bear spray. They had flashbangs." This unsettling video shows a group of men in military-style gear, wearing helmets and body armor, methodically making their way in formation up the Capitol steps. ProPublica and PBS identify them as members of a far-right militia group called the Oath Keepers. We are learning more the efforts to bring the rioters who committed crimes to justice. The Secretary of the Army told a Democratic congressman that at least 25 domestic terrorism cases have been opened as a result of the assault on the Capitol. Officials are on high alert for further unrest. The FBI issuing a bulletin warning of armed protests being planned at all 50 state capitals and the U.S. Capitol starting this week. They are also aware of a group planning to storm government offices in every state on Inauguration Day. The head of the National Guard said today that at least 10,000 troops will be deployed to Washington, D.C. ahead of the inauguration, ahead of the peaceful transition of power. They will be in place by Saturday, with another 5,000 possibly being requested from other states. Now, apparently fearing the president may incite further violence, a who's who list of social media companies finally kicked him off their platforms. The president and his allies used those platforms to urge his supporters to commit insurrection against the United States. The rioters planned the violence online in plain sight in forums. They spoke openly of hanging people they saw as traitors. This was a lynch mob, the ones that made it up to the Capitol. When they made it inside the Capitol, you can hear the rioters chanting, "Hang Mike Pence," over and over. At least someone in the crowd constructed what appears to be a functional gallows near the Capitol reflecting pool. This was no papier-mâché prop. Someone went to a lot of work here. They brought lumber. They built steps up to a platform, complete with a noose. Friday night, we showed you this disturbing video from Status Coup taken at one entrance to the Capitol, in which the violent mob crushes against police as they try to gain entrance. Later in that same video, the insurrectionists can be heard trying to convince Capitol Police to do their bidding, to join them in attacking members of Congress that they are convinced are traitors.
Don't step any further. You need to arrest them. You guys know this. You do the right thing. You do the right thing. We don't want to hurt you guys. Are you okay? Are you okay? Get your breath. NYC. Close the door. Come on, buddy. We got
Here's the thing. These people were one part of a broader effort engaged in by Donald Trump, the President of the United States, right-wing media, members of the United States House of Representatives and Senate, all together to overthrow the democratically elected government of this country, the incoming one. Flatly an act of sedition. And as we try to digest this footage and think about what happened, as everyone terrorized by that day tries to move on or pick up the pieces or figure out what happened, what is so horrifying is the fact that all of these people, from Donald Trump at the very top down to the guy in that video with a gas mask on his head, they were all working towards the same end. After an election in which more than 156 million Americans voted, a record, and 7 million more people voted for Joe Biden than Donald Trump, and he got more than 270 electoral votes, making him the rightfully elected leader of the United States. All of those people, from Donald Trump on down to the guy in the gas mask, they were all together trying to do the same thing. They were trying to install the defeated man as the head of our government against the will of the American people via any means necessary. That is the project in which all of them were engaged, including a lot of prominent Republicans and conservative activists, from Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk, who tweeted about sending 80 busloads of people to the Capitol on January 6th and later deleted that tweet, to Texas Congressman Pete Sessions, who tweeted on January 3rd about encouraging people from Stop the Steal to keep fighting, and that he was looking forward to doing his duty on January 6th. And a whole bunch of his colleagues, like Congressman Andy Biggs, and Paul Gosar of Arizona, and Kevin Brady of Texas, and House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, and Senators Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley and Rick Scott and John Kennedy, every last one of them, up to and including the president and the people around him, have engaged in the same plot in the open to seize power for the man who lost, the man that was repudiated by American voters and American democracy. And for all the talk about 1776 and the Don't Tread on Me Gadsden flags, it is those folks who are on the side of tyranny. They are on the side of a would-be crown. They are on the side of might over people power. They wanted to seize power from you, from us as democratic citizens. They wanted a small group of congressmen to take it away. That is what the Republican Party has now associated itself with, or in large part has become. Now, this country's been through trauma and disaster and war and civil war. And we have wrestled with treason and sedition and those who would seek to destroy American democracy, especially genuinely equitable, multiracial American democracy. We've fought those battles. The threat posed by these people, frankly, is as serious as anything we have seen, at least since then. If there is not accountability for it, they will try again and will have a better chance of succeeding. And if there is any doubt that all these pieces were all working together towards the same end, then keep in mind, the president wanted the mob to go to the Capitol. He told them to go there so they could intimidate Congress out of counting electoral votes for his opponent, so they could spook Mike Pence into stealing it for him. And then, after they stormed the Capitol in this violent attack, after the beatings of the cops, and came within minutes of possibly actually setting upon members of Congress themselves, and as they started to pick up the pieces with the blood still on the ground, this is what the president's lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, was up to. This is Rudy Giuliani in a voicemail he left for Senator Tommy Tuberville of Alabama, one of the president's most stalwart supporters, telling him to do whatever he can to further delay the counting of electoral votes.
Senator Tuberville, or I should say Coach Tuberville, this is Rudy Giuliani, president's lawyer. I'm calling you because I want to discuss with you how they're trying to rush this hearing and how we need you, our Republican friends, to try to just slow it down so we can get these legislators to get more information to you. And I know they're reconvening at 8 tonight. But the only strategy we can follow is to object to numerous states and raise issues so that we get ourselves into tomorrow, ideally until the end of tomorrow.
Take a listen to think about what you just heard. The president's own lawyer. This is after the siege of the Capitol, after it's overrun, after they're cowering in a secure room so they don't get torn to shreds by the lynch mob, and they're reconvening to go do their constitutional duty. Rudy Giuliani, the president's lawyer, after all that, is calling, and he wants the Alabama senator to do whatever he can to pick up the baton from the mob. The mob did its job. It delayed things. Now you use your position as a U.S. senator to stop the peaceful transfer of power and the lawful recognition of the democratically elected president.